Hey everybody, my name's Michaela Hansen. I'm going to qualify myself a little bit to start. I'm a double alum from Caron, so I went to Caron, PA when I was 19, and I went to Caron Renaissance when I was 24. My journey with drinking and substance abuse started with drinking alcohol at a young age. Then I started smoking weed, and then I graduated to other drugs and substances that were accessible to me at the time. Um, it's important to note I never drank or used drugs recreationally from the beginning. When I started drinking, I took it too far. The main example that I use was the first time I drank in high school with my friends at 15. I blacked out. I became massively sick. I most certainly had alcohol poisoning. The next day, I actually had a hockey game my brother picked me up from my friend's house for, that I showed up for as if nothing happened the night before. And I repeated that time and time again throughout my high school years and my adolescence. I'd get wicked drunk or high, be a complete mess, then show up for events, hockey games, school, whatever it was, like nothing happened. It allowed me to hide it well. And I was living a double life for many years. I had untreated mental illness as well. So when the substance abuse came into play, I became incredibly mentally unstable. I do remember seeing a psychiatrist in high school who had misdiagnosed me with depression, actually. I have bipolar, which was diagnosed at Caron, PA when I was there when I was 19. And the medication prescribed to me treated my depression. It didn't treat my mania. So I was completely out of control, particularly when I was in high school. And my parents just didn't know what to do with me. I went to Caron, PA when I was 19, like I said, and I presented a challenging case because I was adopted at 10 weeks old from social services. And there was not only missing information about me, but there was also misinformation. Um, Despite the education that I received, I did not become involved in AA when I left treatment from Caron when I was 19, which was introduced to me as a program of recovery. I did not get a sponsor. I did not work the 12 steps. I wasn't all gung ho about the God aspect of the program either. And I thought that I could live in recovery only doing counseling through an IOP. Um, by the time I left Caron Renaissance and was in sober living down in South Florida, I understood the importance of the program. I became very involved in the program when I was living in Florida, and I did something completely different than what I did at Caron, PA. I got involved. I stayed involved even when I moved home back to Boston. I found a sponsor when I was in Florida. I found a sponsor when I got home. I did the 12 steps in Florida while I was in treatment. I did the 12 steps when I got home. I went to meetings around the clock, as many as I could fit into my schedule, sometimes multiple meetings a day during the times that I wasn't working. I shared at those meetings. I found a home group. I got a job in that home group, and I still do all of this. I was able to complete my bachelor's degree, which was a great gift of the program and my recovery, and start a career job. Because I am dual diagnosis, it is important to me that I still attend therapy once a week, that I have a psychiatrist, take care of myself physically with a proper diet, exercise, adequate sleep as well is very important. I have an amazing group of friends today, a majority of whom are in recovery, like myself. I would say in general, I surround myself with positive people today that support me and support my recovery. I don't have many friends in my life today that aren't sober, though. A majority of them are sober. I have a partner that's very supportive of me. He's normal as one can be. And he's very supportive and loving and caring towards me and supports my recovery as well. And I will say my journey through recovery has not always been easy. I've had some trying times. And I've even had a relapse happen, but I maintain my efforts to live a sober life where I focus on self-growth and self-improvement. When I first went into Caron Renaissance when I was 24, my whole thing was like to do something different. And I've continually done something different because I don't want to live the way that I was living before. And, I was gratefully set up with Recovery for Life at Caron, with both of my stays there, and know what I have to do today to stay sober till midnight. So, with that, I'm going to turn it over to my amazing mother, Sharon.
Hi, everybody. Good job, Kayla. Well, I am very excited to be here. I love Caron, and I love my daughter. I'm so proud of her. It has been, I guess it's been a long journey, and I'm sure family members that are on this can identify. There's probably some very common threads that have run between all of our stories. And I love. I've learned so much through Michaela's recovery, personally, and um, the patients, current patients, former patients, and the staff that I have met at Caron through some of the activities I've been involved in and through her 2 stays there are just world class. And that's all I'll say. I mean, the therapists have been world class. All of the staff at every level has been amazing, and they really are expert in their field. So I'm very grateful. I'm very grateful to have come from where we were several years ago, which was in a really, really bad place, to where we are now, where Michaela's leading a wonderful life, and she has a great job. She's starting a master's program, MBA program, in the spring, and it's just extraordinary. And she actually, we have 3 children. She's the youngest, and she actually has de facto become like the leader of the siblings, which is really funny because during her time, during her times when she was heavily involved in substance abuse disorder, there were huge problems with her and her 2 brothers, and particularly her middle brother, and who is also adopted. Our oldest is not. And part of his issue, I think, was he really felt it was such a slam at the family that had taken them out of foster care. And he really, really had so much resentment towards her behaviors. And now she pretty much is his boss, and they're very close, and she tries to help him solve all of his problems. And it's just amazing to see where we've come. It was hard won, I will say. It was not easy. It wasn't smooth. And some of the things I will talk about from the family perspective that my husband and I did, although we probably approached it we always made a good team, but we approached it differently. When she was at Caron, PA, we went down for the family education program. At that time, I was such a mess because it had been years of really what we thought was bad behavior. And we didn't have, like, as Kayla said, we didn't have good background information on her family history, which turned out had mental health disorder, substance abuse disorder, and we didn't know that, and it wouldn't have made any difference in terms of what we did, obviously, but it would have maybe opened our eyes earlier. And so when I was at Caron, PA, I personally had never had an issue with depression, but I was, unbeknownst to me, in a very, very severe depression at the time. So at the family program, I sat in the back the entire time, literally the entire time. And I cried. I just could not stop myself from crying. I could not shut off the water. And at lunch, I sat off to the side because I cried. And so when we got home, I really thought, well, that was a waste. I just didn't learn anything because I can't stop crying. And it turned out, actually, I got myself into counseling. I saw a doctor, and when they evaluated me, she's like, you're in a very severe depression. So I went on medication for 6 months, which I fought initially, but I did it. And it, and by the end of 6 months, I really felt like, okay, I can wean myself off of this now. And I was feeling much better. But what I realized is I had, in fact, learned a lot at that program because I began to look at things that were happening very differently. And then we did the same thing when we went down to Renaissance. Again, we took advantage of the educational program down there, and there was high accountability, and we had very tough conversations with her, which were excellent in a sense of we needed to let her know where we were at, which is literally at the end of the road. And there needed to be immediate, even small step changes. And so we laid down some boundaries in a very safe environment where we weren't afraid she was going to harm herself or something if we said the wrong thing, which had been a problem for many years. I was petrified of something terrible happening if we, I don't know, said something too harsh or whatever. So Caron was great in so many ways. And she was older in Renaissance, and I think that helped. She also had the foundation of Caron in Pennsylvania under her belt. And we learned a lot. And what we learned were things like, all the what ifs. What if I had paid more attention? What if I had seen signs? What if I wasn't such an idiot and I missed all of the signs? I didn't understand what I was looking at. All those what ifs that were constant in my head. And only to realize the what ifs don't matter. It wouldn't have mattered. And understanding that the person who needed to begin to make change and needed to make steps for a better life was her. And she needed to want it. We couldn't make her want it. And as a parent, your mission in life, I think, is to protect your children, to raise good kids, to have them be contributing adults and pay it forward and all those things. We couldn't fix this. And that was really hard for me. And it was hard for my husband. And so, learning to put boundaries down and set consequences. And we started with a kind of a baby contract that we stuck up on the refrigerator, and it was things like, you're going to honor a curfew, you're going to go to meetings, you're going to get a sponsor. Like it was these things, and she didn't want to sign it. This was the first time around. She signed it, and because it was no choice, we let her amend it. Some stuff she wanted to put in there, like, no, that's not going in there. This is the contract. And so it avoided a lot of fights, because it was like, okay, you want to keep the car till 11? No, take a look at what's on the fridge. You bring it home at 9 or something like that, whatever it was. And so that was helpful. So we learned some tricks of the trade, I think. I individually learned self-help, and I learned the importance of self-help, and I learned to not feel guilty about taking care of myself. So I started, being better with exercise. My diet started being better. I started reading everything I could find on substance abuse disorder, and on, bipolar and coexisting disorders. And I don't know, reading was my kind of my salvation, honestly. In addition, and I really recommend this, like, Caron puts out so much stuff, and it's really high quality. So, like, and I'm sure you're getting a lot of the newsletters and things like that and the emails, and don't delete them. Don't put them in a file, that like a to read file or something. Look at them, and they don't take long, and they're just super helpful. They're just helpful even for like refreshers. And I have found that, becoming informed about the disease, becoming informed about mental health, becoming informed how the two can coexist in a healthy way with appropriate treatment and in some cases medication. That I kind of just began to become very informed with that, and that was really helpful. The other things I would say that I did, I just want to check my time here. The other things that were helpful down at Caron, there are two, I don't know if they even use these terminologies anymore, but two things that just always stayed with me and they resonated at the time. And this was when I was like a mess, but I remembered them from in Pennsylvania. And one was don't accept breadcrumbs. And that was super helpful in all of us recovering, where we stopped praising her for basic, like living at home things that you have a right as a parent to expect of your children. Like we say, you need to be home at 10 with the car, not all crashed up. Yeah, you need to be home at 10. The car needs to be in good shape. You got to keep your room clean, like just different things. And I found like what we were doing, because we were so happy with any little tiny sign of improvement, we were praising her for all this stuff, which was crazy in hindsight. So the point is like set the bar, hold to the bar, and whatever the level of bar that you set, and don't accept breadcrumbs. And then the other one that sort of stuck with me was this thing that they handed out, and it was a story about a pet gerbil that had escaped from its cage in a room, and the whole family was running around trying to capture the gerbil. It was just chasing, 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 and the gerbil just kept getting away. And the idea, obviously, being stop chasing the gerbil. Just stop chasing the gerbil. And so in my worst times, those two things honestly helped me set the boundaries and set some accountability, and saying, like, to the point of actually saying down in Renaissance, we unconditionally love you. We will always love you. But if things don't start to change today, you can no longer be an active part of our family, because you're killing the family. Like we're just all dying here. And it had a huge impact on her. It was really hard to do. But I think all of the efforts to begin to take care of ourselves, and be stronger in terms of being able to really realize a different way of dealing with her. I think that all of the self-care really helped get to that point, and it was a horrible point, but it worked. She will agree, I think, that was one of those moments of clarity of, oh, it's coming from my mother, and she actually means it. And so, now we have a wonderful relationship. We have a super honest relationship. Our family is much stronger and better for the experiences we've all shared together. We've all come through it really well. We're all really proud of her. I'm so grateful to Caron. And the other thing I should mention too is, people put their efforts into different kinds of things, volunteer things. But I will say that I try to do as much as I can for Caron, and it started really as an effort to try to give back in some way for what they had given us as a family and our daughter, and the tools to really have a healthy, happy life. And it now is just a joy for me. Like I love volunteering there, and the people I have met are extraordinary, and the patients there are extraordinary. And so I'm really pleased that I've been allowed to give back, and I think that has really helped me in my own recovery, because I'm very involved in the whole substance abuse disorder field. Like I stay up on research, and I'm hopeful that someday there really will be an end to it. And the discoveries that are being made are extraordinary. So I maintain a lot of hope. And I think we're right on time, and I'm going to end it there. But it's been a privilege to be here. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Sharon. And thank you